Prime Minister's flying back to Australia after a whirlwind trip to Japan for the Quad. Anthony Albanese argues that Labor's position on climate change has been welcomed by key allies. Live to Trudy McIntosh now. Trudy, what's next for the new Prime Minister?
Well, Kieran, he is about halfway home on this flight from Tokyo back to Australia. Labor pretty happy with how this trip went on the world stage. The first for the new Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, able to sit down face-to-face with US President Joe Biden, also the leaders of Japan and India. He was able to get this crucial FaceTime at this Quad leaders meeting. We know the regional forum is focused in part on countering the rise of China, but Anthony Albanese also used this as an opportunity to talk up his climate agenda. He is making this a stark contrast to his predecessor, Scott Morrison. He says it was warmly welcomed by the key allies.
There are many consistencies in Australia's national security positions, but there are some differences with the former Australian government, particularly when it comes to climate change. And the new government that I lead's position was welcomed by the leaders of the United States, Japan and India, and I look forward to going forward and building those relationships.
The Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, as you can see there, standing alongside the new Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. She will not stop here. She was on that trip, but I can tell you that she will now be heading to Fiji. She's got a 2-day visit to that Pacific island. She's going to be meeting with the Fijian Prime Minister and also the Foreign Minister. I'm told she's also expected to deliver a speech later in the week. Now, the timing of this visit is incredibly significant given the geopolitical tensions in the region, particularly in the Solomon Islands, in relation to that newly inked security deal between Beijing and Honiara. The Chinese Foreign Minister, Wang Yi, is expected to embark on an 8-country visit throughout the Pacific in the next few days. He's expected to arrive either tonight or tomorrow into Honiara. So the timing, Kieran, of Penny Wong also being in the region is really significant. We know Labor had been critical that the ball has been dropped by the Prime Minister Scott Morrison previously, that not enough was done to engage in that region.
And Trudy, back home, the new Treasurer held a news conference after back-to-back briefings with the RBA and the various regulators. And an interesting comment he made about the words were the former government had left some, what was it? He says, including pressures on the budget which were not disclosed or booked by the previous government, Trude.
And that was very late into the press conference, Kieran. My ears pricked up when I heard that. What is he talking about in terms of these unexpected pressures? Now, we've seen these briefings today, a public show for the cameras this morning, if you like, by the new Treasurer. He stood alongside the Treasury Secretary, also the head of the Reserve Bank, the new ACCC boss, the head of the Tax Office, making it clear that there's a new government in town and that Labor is going to be working through all of the details in terms of the economic headwinds. But crucially, what has been left in the budget that he's now been briefed on that Australians aren't aware of? Let's take a look at his comment.
And there are other factors working against us, including, some pressures on the budget which were not disclosed or booked by the previous government. And I'll get into that at a subsequent opportunity. Great.
What are those unexpected pressures you said in the budget? What did they leave you that you didn't know?
I'll have more to say about that on another occasion. Thanks very much.
Trudy, also the back and forth over that boat interception at the weekend, the boat that's since been taken back to Sri Lanka.
Yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth, Kieran, on this, heated from both sides in terms of whether this was deliberately politicising this issue on election day when we saw this statement by Operation Sovereign Borders confirming the boat had been intercepted. A senior coalition source told Sky News this morning that Labor, accusing Labor of being deliberately misleading, so they looked the same as the coalition on this question of the boat being intercepted. Now, it's worth pointing out here that yesterday on this program, the acting Prime Minister Richard Marles was explicit that this was a boat take back rather than a turn back. Now, people would say this is splitting hairs. The coalition argument is that Labor is trying to be too tricky by half here. What's happened is these 15 people, Kieran, were processed on a boat and then they have been flown back to Sri Lanka. So it's been resolved as an issue. I put this to the acting Home Affairs Minister, Jim Chalmers. He says that this has just been politicised. We saw that text on election day by the Liberal Party.
These guys can't help themselves. They're always looking to politicise what are serious matters of national security and border security. And I think Australians have had enough of that. It was terribly disappointing from our point of view to see the way that the government in its dying hours attempted to publicise and politicise and send those text messages out about border security. Australians know, and the people smugglers know, that we remain committed to Operation Sovereign Borders, and the activity that has happened in the last couple of days has been entirely consistent with that.
As we know, Kieran, the Home Affairs Secretary has been tasked to investigate the statement that was put out on election day regarding that boat interception. A matter of the text message is one for the Liberal Party. I'm told it's not a part of that investigation at all.
Trudy McIntosh, we will stay in touch throughout the afternoon. Thanks for the update.